Right, okay, so as promised, circulation. The main objective of the circulatory system is to transport rich blood, which means it has oxygen, so it transports oxygen to the rest of the body, as well as extrapolate waste products such as carbon dioxide and water from these cells. Now, there are two types of circulatory systems, the first one being the singular. The definition of a singular circulatory system is that it only flows through the heart once, in one circuit. So, as you can see here, let's start at the gills. The blood will be oxygenated and it will go down to the rest of the body, so the rest of the organs, after which it flows back into the heart and the cycle repeats. Now, this sort of system is primarily found in pretty much all fish and a couple of other creatures. However, don't pin me up to that. However, there is one main advantage that this system has to a double, which, hint hint, is what people have. It doesn't require much thermal energy to power the blood. This is particularly good for cold-blooded creatures. Whoa, like big brain time there, I know. Because they live in either too hot climates or very cold climates, and that doesn't matter. That doesn't concern them. Their blood will stay the same. Blood temperature will stay the same. Anyhow, double circulatory system. Basically, this is always found in mammals, in all mammals, right? As you may have guessed, the definition of this is it flows in one circuit through the heart twice, right? Okay? So, I mean, we can start, let's say we'll start at the lungs. The blood will travel to the left side of the heart, which has a higher blood pressure, to pump to the rest of the body, after which the blood then gets pumped back into the right side of the heart, which has a much lower pressure, and that will pump it to the lungs. Now, this has two advantages. The first one being, blood flows a lot quicker due to higher blood pressure, primarily, obviously quite found in the left side of the heart, and it also has a difference in blood pressure, right? So in one side it's smaller, in the other it's larger, and that allows the lungs pretty much just not to burst into pieces, right? Okay, always helpful. So you may have guessed we need, for year 11 IGCSE, you need to understand the heart's structure and how it operates, right? So let's start from where I believe is the beginning, the inferior vena cava and superior vena cava. You will need to know all of these terms for the different parts of the heart and how it works, just letting you know. So, we'll cover that. So, the blood will flow from the superior and inferior vena cava into the right atrium, which is here, and that will flow through that into the right ventricle, which you may have noticed has a smaller lining of muscle than the left ventricle. And this is what I discussed back up here, right? It generates the lower blood pressure, which sends the blood to the lungs through the semilunar valve, right? Okay? Which it then splits into the pulmonary artery, right? Okay? And this is the exception. So the pulmonary artery, even though it's an artery, it is actually blue. That is because it doesn't have oxygenated blood, right? Okay? So these go to the right lung and the left lung. After which, once they return, they will return through the pulmonary veins, right? Okay, because it always goes to the heart. After which, it then enters the left atrium and flows through the atrioventricular valve, right? So that's that part there. And it then enters the left ventricle. Now, at the left ventricle, you can see that it's, well, a lot bigger than the right, and that's again to refer to this bit of diagram here. It creates a higher blood pressure, right? Okay. Pause the video to label everything and understand if I'm going too fast or whatnot. But anyhow. So, after this, it goes through the aorta valve, which is this part here, and coincidentally goes into the aorta itself, where it is then pumped to the rest of the body. Now, electrocardiograms. That's a very long name, not gonna lie. However, it can be shortened to just ECGs, or if you're from European countries, it is ECKs. Anyhow, so this device is used to measure the flow/beating of the different parts in the heart, right? Okay, so this diagram represents a healthy heart. So the P, so this part here, shows the contractions of the arteries, right? So we've discussed that's these two parts here. After which, it then proceeds to have a little bump, and then we call that part the Q. Now, the Q is just before the immediate contractions of the ventricles, after which the R and the T are, as stated here, is the immediate contraction of the ventricles. So that's the part where these two close both at the same time, right? Okay. And then the T represents the ventricles resting and relaxing, after which the whole process starts again about here. You will have to understand just you don't have to go into any sort of disorders, but you do have to understand how what a healthy heart would look like on an ECG diagram. So, veins and arteries. It's quite simple, really. So, basically, you have the artery, so this part here, and that will split into small little arterioles, right? You will have to know that term. After which, it splits into even smaller parts, which are called the capillaries, right? Okay, and these capillaries, that's where the gas exchanges between the oxygen and carbon dioxide and water occur. And once the oxygen is given off and it is collected, it travels from the capillaries into the veins via the venule, right? Arteriole, venule, right? After which it then goes back down to the heart. Now, you don't really have to understand this bit of information. However, pause the video and jot down the notes if you feel like it will be helpful for you. Alright, that out of the way. Pulse rates. Basically, all you need to know is, first of all, how to measure the pulse rates and where to measure the pulse rates. Basically, each dadump is one pulse rate. Measure the amount of pulse rates in 1 minute, and congratulations, that's your pulse rate. Not too difficult. So there are four different places where it is optimum to measure the pulse rate. The first one being the radial, which you can see at the diagram is found by your radial bone in your arms, close to your wrist. Then there is femoral, which is just above and to the side of your genitalia, be it you're a woman or a female. A woman or a female. A guy or a female. Then there is carotid. That. That's basically what you see in the movies. That's where they hold it to the neck. And then there is the temporal, which is at the forehead. And that pretty much covers it. That's all of circulation. I hope you enjoyed.